our speaker today, esteemed participant registered valuer, my colleagues from DJVF RVO. I, Kajal Booker, manager of DJVF RVO and coordinator with CP, extend a warm welcome to you all. As you're aware, topic of today's webinar is Understanding Coastal Regulation Zone and its Limitation. With more than 7,500 kilometers of coastal line, India ranks 20th in the world among the countries with longest coastal line. In order to protect coastal ecology and conserve the coastal environment, the Government of India issued notification, namely Coastal Regulation Zone in 1991. Coastal regulation zones are areas along the 7,500 kilometer long coastal stretch of India. As per the official notification, the coastal land up to a 500-meter from the high tide line, that is HTL, and a stage of 100-meter along banks of creek, estuaries, backwater, and rivers, subject to tidal fluctuations. It is called Coastal Regulation Zone. The development of buildings, tourism infrastructure, and other facilities is regulated in these areas by the Government of India. We will have detailed discussion on this regulation in this CP. It is important for valuers to have knowledge of this regulation as the same is applied while conducting the valuation of properties in CRZ. Considering the importance of the subject, we have taken up this topic for CP. We are sure that participants shall be benefited from it. The speaker on the subject today is Mr. K. Sundarpandian, sir. Before I hand over the mic to him, I will briefly introduce him to you all. Mr. K. Sundarpandian, sir, is an accomplished practicing professional with very high qualification. He is BE, MBA, LLB, MSc Valuation, MS Sociology, LIM, PGD CA, and PGD DCS. He is a member of more than 8 professional organizations like ASCU, ICI, IOB, IEI, etc. He is registered as professional with more than 7 authorities that include registered valuer, IBBI, competent person to issue stabilization certificate, industrial safety and health development, Government of India. He has undertaking in a number of organizations which include National Safety Council of India, TTL, ISO, audit training organized by IEI, and others on green buildings. He is a teaching faculty in number of reputed organizations with over 40 years of experience together with high academic qualification. K. Sundarpandian sir is a very well respected teacher. It is going to be an interesting learning session for you all for the next 2 hours. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Good morning, friends. No voice is back.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Great.
Good morning,
sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. I'm so happy. I'm so happy with the morning wishes. Generally, what has happened? Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. See, generally, when you say good morning, automatically your thoughts, mind, and energy, everything is activated. Energy. So, good morning to all. I'm Sundara Pandit, your fellow valuer. I'm here today for delivering the speech on the understanding CRZ and limitation. In fact, when they asked me to say the topic, I thought actually we have done some work on the CRZ zone. Like in Kanyakumari, we did one of the project. So when we do the valuation, actually we came across with a lot of restrictions on CRZ zone. In fact, what we have done, that building actually before notification, they got some approval, but they deviated in the height and the area. So they comes under the violation within that rule. So we have taken up a lot of information on that actually, and this gave me an idea. Why not we give a presentation on the limitations on the CRZ, and also we need to understand what is CRZ. So this is one of the topic I thought, okay, let me present to all our fellow valuers. So let me start that. We are going to see only on the coastal regulation zone. I'm not going to deviate anything on this today. This is why, because actually it is related to valuation. Whenever any valuations we do, we'll have to be more careful and see whether the land is within that CRZ zone or not. In fact, one of my experience in Chennai, in ECR, actually, there was a very big corporate company. They told us actually one of the other group, valuation group, international company, they given more than 5 crore per ground. They asked me to certify for per ground 5 crore, and we have more than 20 ground. They asked us to address on this. Anna, ஒரு presentationல இருக்கேண்ணா, please na. So then I went across the entire thing because I have an geographical knowledge on that particular area. So I told the client actually, sir, this particular thing actually it is comes under the CRZ and you cannot develop anything except height restriction is there, and otherwise also you will have to take approval from the National Pollution Control Board approval. Then they were telling, no, there are some other developments are there. We have a high value property. Then I said, no, sir, this is my limitation. I will not give. See, one thing is very clear. Whenever any some influence people are making, don't accept. You say bluntly, I don't want to do the work. It's better instead of just doing the work and getting into the problem. Let us say very clearly, we are not interested. And see, we have seen, we know that actually there are burial ground, some distance is there, and HT line, there are some distances there, minimum distance. IDBI GM is calling. Sir, good morning, sir. ஒரு ஆன்லைன்ல இருக்கேன், முடிச்சுட்டு கூப்பிட்டோமா ப்ளீஸ்? நீங்க எங்க இடத்தால தான் எடுத்தேன், அதுக்காக தான் ப்ளீஸ். நான் கூப்பிடுறேன், முடிச்சோன்னு கூப்பிடு. ஷூர்ண்ணா, ஐ வில் ஜஸ்ட் கால் யூ ப்ளீஸ். So not only HT line, burial ground, there are catchment area is there, and defense zone is there, in which actually there is a restricted zone and minimum distance has to be maintained. And I got an experience in getting an approval for one of the building, which is a very big bungalow belongs to one of the chairman. They were constructing in Chennai ECR. And the main big challenge was to take approval. And the revenue people came to the site, and actually on the full moon day, they measured from the high tide zone to that property. Luckily, it was more than 750 meters, so there is not a problem, and we got an approval. So these are all some of the things actually when we need to know as a valuer, as an engineer, we need to know what is the restrictions, what is the distance. These are all the things are very important. Okay, let us go into the limitations and understanding about the coastal zone. What is coastal zone regulation zone in India? See, under the Environmental Protection Act 1986, notification was issued, new notification issued in February 1991. This is the first notification issued in 1991 to regulate the activities in the coastal area by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, MOEF. As per the notification, the coastal land up to 500 meters from the tide line, HTL, on the stage of 100 meters along the bank reefs. What is bank reefs? On the entry of the river bed to sea. And estuaries and backwaters and rivers subject to the tidal fluctuation is called the coastal regulation zone. I'll show you the picture. CRZ along the country has been placed in four categories. The above notification includes only the intertidal zone and land part of the coastal area and does not include the ocean part. Very clear. We are only concerned on the coastal zone area. The notification imposed restriction on setting up the expansion of industries or processing plants, etc. in the said CRZ. The classification of the coastal regulation zone. There are 4 coastal zones are there. One is CRZ1, CRZ2, CRZ3, CRZ4. These regulation developmental activities, the coastal structures within 500 meters, HTL on the landward side are classified into 4 categories. Sometimes you will not believe the shrimp industries were very famous in Andhra. there are many cases has been came into the limelight. They were fighting actually. They wanted to put the plant very near to the sea, and the main thing is they wanted the sea water to be used for the shrimp. But court has told very clearly this is a process industry. There is no need for putting up a plant within the CRZ zone. They rejected. They given many orders are there on that. See, you can see the picture here. This is a coastal zone, which is you can see here. This is a very high risk area where habitats are protected in that zone. So there actually nothing is allowed. And CRZ zone 2, you can see that 500-meter distance which has been given. 3 also same thing. You can see here 3 and 4 in the entry of the river and the sea joint, where actually you can see that the distance is only 100 meters on the either side of the river. This is a creek point. So this is what exactly we need to understand. But the main why they are not allowing in the coastal zone for any building. And Chennai, of course, many of the coastal area on the eastern side. After tsunami, everybody felt the importance of keeping the distance, minimum distance for a safety purpose. So this is what actually they done. In fact, my own experience in tsunami, we have seen the sea water has completely came up to the in Marina to the main road, and many of the people have died in the tsunami. See, once they seen, they wanted to protect for safety of the people and safety of the habitat. So these are all the things are very important with regard to the coastal regulation zone. In 1991, when they issued the notification, there were a lot of cases has been because the people's already they are having some structures, that has been permitted, but with restrictions, they are not supposed to do any expansion of the plant or any house or anything. Even today, actually, many of the cottages are there. Cottage industries are allowed, but not the big industry, big hotels and all. So this is one thing I just wanted to show you. You can see just for an example I have taken in the Krishna River on the you can see that 100 meters, that is 330 feet, 30 feet, which has been shown as a CRZ buffer zone. You can see that after that only the clubhouse or anything is permitted to construct. The development zone, that is approved villa plots. Even today, in fact, we got one of the valuation for some plots in the ECR, that is East Coast Road. Near to that, actually, we got some plot which is comes under the Land Ceiling Act also. See, whenever we do valuation for any of the plots, we need to see what are the restrictions are there. Generally, what we do actually when we go for any site visit, we log the site with a Google Earth. That point we'll take it to the Google Earth and we'll see that what is the surroundings are there. And also we will see in that actually what is the minimum distance which is measured from the sea. That is also we will see. So you know that what is the distance we are there, whether we are more than the minimum distance or less than the minimum distance. And apart from that, any other guidelines are there. So that particular land actually it is away from the sea zone, say 750 meters. But that particular land actually belongs to the some person who is having a land ceiling act under the land ceiling act. So why? Because I am telling you, whenever we go for any valuation, these are all the things we carefully we'll have to look into that. The coastal zone are the areas along 7,500 kilometers. It's a long coastal stretch of India. The development of buildings, tourism, infrastructure, and other facilities is regulated in these areas by the government of India. And we have seen one of the jetty constructed for one of the refinery. But this has been approved by the necessity. Everything has been felt and it was approved by the Pollution Control Board of India. They'll give the approval subject to all restrictions. They'll give all the parameters, what to be protected, what to do, what not to do, everything will be they given. And in fact, even for putting up a jetty or the government has to approve. Without approval, you can't do anything on that. How many CRZ zones are there? The Coastal Regulation Zone, that is CRZ, are notified by the Government of India in 1991. For the first time, this is the first time they gave it a big notification with lot of restrictions, what to do, what not to do. We'll see that important parameters and area where we need to understand. Under this coastal zone, it is CRZ1, CRZ2, CRZ3, CRZ4. We'll see one by one. So you can see here, the prohibited activities in the CR zone. What is the construction norms in the coastal zone area? Setting up a new industry and expanding existing zone. Exception in the case of those that have a direct relation to the waterfront or require foreshore facilities. And in the case of projects involving the Department of Atomic Energy. See, these are all the important things, but they will give the permission, depends upon the requirement. Even for that, actually, whenever they discharge anything, actually they have to do as per the regulation. This is one of the most important things. Then dumping of waste from the cities for land filling is not at all allowed. This is restricted, it is prohibited. And land mining is 100%, it is prohibited. Because there is sometime actually there will be a news will come. People have taken sand from sea sand from very particular area, like Thuthukudi or in some places. It has a good value, mineral value is there. Then construction activity in CRZ1 area. See, in CRZ1 area, no construction is allowed. Never. If there are some properties are there which is not at all permitted. You will not believe there was a public litigation case has been filed by one of the in a public interest person in Madurai High Court, saying that in Kanyakumari there are lot of buildings are violated. So what has happened? The court has formed a committee to go and find out what exactly is there, what is the list is there. It is surprising they found out more than 60 buildings which has been violated. And now the things are going, case is going on. So the important to know for the values. Suppose if you are doing a valuation near to the coastal zone or any tourism center or any area, when you are allowed to go for that, actually, you need to find out what are the things are there. It is not that actually we can go and measure, but we can see in the Google Earth itself, we can measure that. The construction activities in CRZ1 area is totally prohibited. Then dumping waste from the thermal power plant. See, there are some restriction is there and how to dump or how to discharge the waste. There is a clear-cut guidelines are there for the thermal power plant. They'll have to follow the guideline. And setting up and expanding units for the disposal of waste. Exception made in the case of stormwater drain and discharge of a treated effluent. So this entire thing is the prohibited activities in the CRZ. So we need to know that actually why, because suppose some industry, some of your person, some of your known person has put up a plant before the notification, it is running already. You are asked to go and do the valuation. We are going there. We need to find out what are the things they are doing, whether they've taken the pollution control approval. And see, many of the industries actually, whenever you go for that, whether they are within the regulation they are doing or not. Even a plant also, whenever we visit any plant, actually we used to take what are the approvals they have, like factory industries approval, industrial dish approval, that is director, industrial safety, you will be issuing with regard to the building. And any local body approval they have taken, all approvals will take and we'll see that they have not violated any regulation. That is one of the most important thing we'll have to see. Prohibited, some of the industries which is prohibited in the CRZ zone. Setting up a new industries, of course, I have shown in that above picture also. And expanding existing one, which is highly restricted. The exception in the case of those that have direct relation to the waterfront are required foreshore facilities. I told you, shrimp industries, they are not permitted nowadays. Whatever established earlier, actually, that they are running. But even then, that they are running with a lot of restrictions. And in the case of projects involving the Department of Atomic Energy, they are also governed by the restrictions. They are allowed to take approval from Pollution Control Board, Minister of Environment and Forest. They are allowed to take approval. So a lot of restrictions are there. They are allowed to run the entire thing industry also within the regulation only. Setting up and expanding units for disposal of waste. Exception made in case of stormwater drain. Yeah, stormwater drain they allow. And discharge of treated effluent. Yes, they will have to have ultrafiltration and they can let the water, treated water, into the sea. The dumping of waste from the cities for landfilling. This is highly not allowed at all. And dumping waste from thermal power plants. Yes, they will have to do within the whatever the control and regulations are there, they will have to do only according to that. And land mining is not, we have seen in that, and construction activity in CRZ zone 1 is not allowed. Then, let's see one by one what exactly it shows. Norms for the regulation in each and every CRZ zone. Okay, CRZ 1. No new construction is permitted. Nothing is permitted except for projects relating to the Department of Energy. And pipelines conveying systems that include transmission line. Yes, this is permitted. Exploration and extraction of natural gas and oil. So no new construction is allowed in this CRZ zone. In fact, I have shown on picture. In that picture, we have seen that actually that is the CRZ zone where nothing is allowed in that particular zone. Okay, let's see the CRZ zone. The buildings are permitted only on the landward side. Yes. Here actually building is permitted. Of the existing road, see if that existing road is there, then it is okay. On the landward side of the existing authorized structure. So these buildings will be subject to the local and town control planning regulation. In Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, we have a combined building rule. See, any rule which will be as per the MUD, Ministry of Urban Development, they will be the people who are giving the guideline to each all the states, and all the states have to follow. They have to formulate their own rules and regulations, but it will be at par with the MUD only, and some rules will be according to the local. These buildings will be subjected to the existing local town control planning regulation, including existing norms of the floor space index or floor ratio, floor area ratio. See, you can see in your DCR, developmental control rules, or any developmental rule. In that, actually, they would have specified if the area, if you are having a coastal zone area, they would have given some guideline. What is the minimum distance? This 500 meters is a standard. But even then, actually, some area that will be already developed resorts will be there, like Goa and all. There is a special provisions are there. There actually it will be considered with a special provision. CRZ3. The CRZ3 areas up to 200 meters from HTL is marked as a no development zone. It's very important, up to 200 meters. And however, agriculture, horticulture, and patches and ponds, garden, forestry, and play fields and salt manufacturing from seawater is permitted in that. I think you could have seen that actually in Thoothukudi, we could have seen many of the salt field will be there. They will be started manufacturing the salt from that land. That will be within the zone of CRZ3. The vacant plots are between 200 to 500 meter of HTL in selected areas can be developed on period approval from the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So here they say that you have to take approval between 200 to 500. But there also they given a lot of restriction. You cannot go for a more height and it will be within that height only it has to be there. and the area also is restricted. There are so many things which has been given in the CRZ3. Okay, we will see. Between 200 to 500 meters of the HTL construction or reconstruction of dwelling units are permitted if they are in the field of traditional rights and customary uses, such as existing fishing villages. We can see that there are a lot of fishing villages are there. There actually it will be a temporary structure only, not a big structures. But if it is earlier it is allowed, it has been constructed. Now there is no redevelopment chances are there. What is allowed is whatever it is there, that is only it can be maintained. So this is what exactly within that CRZ3. But building permissions will be subjected to under conditions such as total number of building units that should not exceed the existing unit. They are very clear. Whatever approved, that is should be maintained, and whatever the dwelling units which has been permitted, that has to be maintained. And the total covered area on all floors shall not exceed 33% of the total plot size. So see, you can see that lot of restrictions. But when you go deep into the local body approval, you can see more detailing also. This will be vary from place to place. The overall height of the construction should not be more than 9 meters. This is one of the restrictions. And see where the question of violation will come, when the people started constructing the building, they will be going beyond the 9 meter. So this is where actually, see there actually it will be allowed only tilt plus 3, tilt plus 2. But whereas people will be started constructing 4 floor, 5 floor, this is where the regulations violations will be there. And must not exceed 2 floors. This is very clear. Ground plus 1 floor. And reconstructions or alterations of an existing authorized building permitted, subject to the above mentioned point. See, whatever already is there, that you can maintain, but new developments cannot be taken up. So, see, there are many cases which has come, and department also went for against violation. They booked some of the property or project. The people have went to the court. They got a stay, and court also told that it has happened before the notification, and already they have an approval. But only restriction, they can't able to develop further. The restrictions are there, they will have to do within that approval only. They cannot go beyond the whatever existing structures are there. This actually they are maintaining right now actually. Further actually, I just wanted to tell you some more things also. The coastal regulation zones, this includes creeks, bays, ocean, rivers and backwaters that are impacted by tidal waves and forces and are up to 500 meters from the high tidal line. That is HTL. You should remember HTL mean high tidal line, as well as the land between the low tide line and high tide line. So this is CRZ1 area. Okay. Why CRZ is important? Why the CRZ is important? The CRZ coastal zone was established in 1991. The coastal areas, including seas, bays, creeks, and rivers and backwaters that are subjected to the tides up to 500 meters from the high tide line, that is HTL, and the land between the low tide and high tide. This is the CRZ zone, very important. Who declares the CRZ zone? The CRZ zone is declared by the Central Government, Ministry of Forest and Environment and Forest. Now, therefore, in exercise of the power conferred with the class D and subclass 3 of Rule 5 of the Environment Protection Rule 1986, and all powers vesting in its behalf, the Central Government hereby declares the coastal stretches. That is what they declare very clearly. These are all the things will be under the coastal regulation zone. Seas, bays, estuaries, and creeks, rivers, and backwaters, which are influenced by. This is as per the notification. So where the CRZ and where is it will be applicable? The coastal regulation zones are the area along 7,500 kilometer long coastal stretch of India. And development of building, yes, very important, no development. And tourism, mostly tourism. Infrastructure and other facilities are regulated in these areas by Government of India. Even local body also, they will have to take permission. Whenever any approval is given, they will have to take permission from the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Without approval, actually, they can't able to do anything in the CRZ zone. That is very clear. Is construction allowed in CRZ 3? Coastal stretches in Andaman, Nicobar, Lakshadweep. These are all the lands are very important. Yeah, highlands and small islands. Except those designated CRZ 1, 2, or 3. Building shall be permitted only on the land side of the existing road on the landward side of the existing authority structure. If you see the application for construction for any of the project, that will be very big. They will be questioning a lot of things. You need to answer each and everything. It is not so easy to get an approval because it is a protected zone. That is one of the reason actually it is not allowed. Even if they are allowed for any tourism purpose, there will be a lot of restrictions has been shown. Can we build in CRZ zone? Norms for regulation of activities. Norms for regulation of activities in CRZ 2. Let's see. Buildings are permitted only on the landward side. See, again, they are in the CRZ zone, in the CRZ notification, they gave very clear indications about where to construct, how to construct, what is the limitation, what is the height, everything has been given. On the landward side of the existing authorized structures only. Okay, what is CRZ zone in Goa? In fact, many of us visited Goa and we have seen that, and many of the structures are very close to the sea also. The current development trends along the coast of Goa offer an opportunity to evaluate effectiveness of the coastal regulation zone. Here also they are regulating. It is not that they are leaving. The mandatory no development zone in proximity to as a buffers is very important. They are very clear in that actually. And ecosystems have sufficient oceanographic and environmental validity to be upheld. So they are not just like that, they are not allowing. They are also governed by certain rules and regulation and local body approval. They are maintaining according, 1 minute. See, they maintain the whole thing according to the rules and regulations of the environmental notification as per notification 1991. What is CRZ clearance? I told you HTL and LTL. The area between high tide line and low tide line and the area up to 500 meters toward landward side from HTL have been notified as a coastal regulation zone. It is very important. We should not forget. If anybody wanted to construct anything, if they got the approval, whether the plot is within the zone, within the above the zone, whether the local body has approved for that, what is the regulations they given that in the approval need to be seen by value. Been notified as a coastal regulation zone, that is CRZ. Through CRZ notification dated Jan 1991 under EP Act 1986. Also, the river bank on either side of the estuaries is declared as a CRZ zone. This is another important thing. Near the sea, where the river and sea joins. So these are all the things which is very important for us to understand. Which are the activities permitted in CR zone? Only certain activities relating to agriculture, forestry, projects of Department of Atomic Energy, mining of rare mineral. Yes, very important. Even salt manufacture and regasification of petroleum product, non-conventional energy sources on certain public facilities may be permitted in this zone. See, you can see that Vizag or Thoothukudi or any other tourism place. Everything is governed by the CRZ zone, and the restrictions has been, whatever they do, the construction, they have to do the construction according to the regulation. Whatever earlier it has governed before the notification, that has been permitted, but no developments is allowed. They cannot see earlier before 1991 notification, if they constructed G+2, that is the only thing which is allowed. No more restriction, no more development is allowed. So these are all the activities permitted in the CRZ zone. What are they? Only certain activities relating to agriculture, forestry, project department of atomic energy, mining of rare minerals, salt manufacturer, and regasification of petroleum products, non-conventional energy sources, and certain public facilities that may be permitted in this zone. We have seen one of the area in Thoothukudi. And when we went to the department and we requested for certain information, they gave us that particular area is falls in the CRZ3, which is also required for some godown purpose. The godowns has been established. That is very far. So we have written very clearly that is falls beyond the CRZ zone. But we need to find out. We need to find out CRZ zone. Unless you know the CRZ zone, it is not possible for you to establish this. But if it is well within that, actually, you have to see that approvals. The approvals is most important thing for any of the values. If the plot is not taken any approval, it will be governed as an unapproved structure, unapproved property. So these are all the things one has to know that before do the valuations. What is CRZ Act? This is also very important to understand. The Department of Department of Environment and Forest and Wildlife. The notification under Section 3 and Section 3 of 2 of Environment Protection Act 1986 and Rule 5.3 of Environment Protection Rules 1986 declaring coastal stretches as a coastal regulation zone. Entire coastal regulation. India is having 7,500 kilometer long, and regulating activities in the CRZ zone. This notification issued for only the regulating the coastal zone. Is it possible to get the CRZ clearance? See, any project proponent has to register with the CRZ portal before submitting the proposal for seeking CRZ clearance. It is coastal zone. We'll have to take coastal zone approval for a clear CRZ clearance. Only one time registration is required for submitting the application, that is SCZMA, that is State Coastal Zone Management Authority. Please kindly, if you have time, actually kindly go through the each and every state has the rule, coastal regulation zone. You can see that also in which actually they have mentioned very clearly what is the restricted zone, what are the restriction activities to be have in that CRZ zone. And both the development zone, the development rule and the CRZ zone, both will be same only. You can see. See why? Because actually I am repeatedly telling that coastal zone rule to be studied along with a local body rule, that is local developmental control rule. So you can get an approval, but you'll have to submit one-time application and register in State Coastal Zone Management Authority. But of course, that approval will be given by the National Pollution Control Board only, Environment and Forest. Okay, let's see some more new things. In Goa coastal area, what will be the special? Let's see that. In Goa, the state of India, comprising mainland district on the country's southwestern coast and an offshore island. Yes, it is located about 250 miles from south of Mumbai. This is they have in the Goa, they have the restriction zone as per the DCR. They are governed by that. All this zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 is also governed there. Within the regulation only they will have to do. They can't do just like that. That high tide loan, low tide loan, that 500 meters is more important. One should not forget. What is coastal zone UPSC? The coastal zones are transition areas between the marine and territorial zone. See, this is actually between the marine and territorial zone. There is a growing need to safeguard this ecologically sensitive areas. I don't know how many of you have traveled from Rameshwaram to Kanyakumari. That East Coast Road, very fantastic. And it is a highly protected zone, ecologically protected zone. And nobody is allowed for any development there. Highly protected zone, and that area is actually highly protected. And in fact, in some of the areas in the East Coast Zone, actually, the turtles come to the beach for a certain period. So that's one of the reason actually that area, no development is permitted. And you can, there is a road is there, you can see that entire seashore. So there is a growing need to safeguard these ecologically sensitive areas. This is one of the sensitive area, including mangroves, coral reefs, against pollution and impact the climate change. Very important. Any changes, any industry which will change the entire climate. That's one of the reason actually the regulations has been made. Who grants the CRZ clearance? Yes, we have done the application. We know the limitation. We know what is what, but who is giving the clearance? On fulfillment of the entire condition, the project proponent can apply for consideration of clearance to the ministry on the Pervish online portal, and the project thereafter will be appraised on the appropriate recommendation by the expert appraisal committee of CRZ, constituted by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, MOUEF. So it is very clear that the approval will be given only by the expert appraisal committee. They will go through each and everything. They will take opinion from the local body. They will take opinion from the pollution control board on the each and every state where the application has been coming from. So they will conduct each and survey also. After that, only that whether this can be approved or not, they will consider. So expert appraisal committee is the one actually which will be giving the approval for that construction of any approval. Why salt is restricted to the coastal areas? That's one of the important questions. Because why? Because salt is more important. We take the salt nearby the, you can see many of the salt bed actually manufacturing units along the coast, Marakanam. See, I know this place, so that's why I'm telling Marakanam or Thuthukudi. These are all the main place where the salt place manufactured. Why it is restricted? Because rainwater on the land is somewhat acidic. Yes. It erodes rocks. True. The metals are carried away by the hot water when it is discharged from vents into the seabed. The salt is obtained near the coast from the ocean in a very high amount. That is why the salt making is restricted to the coastal areas. Only few areas only it is approved, not in all the places, on all the coastal areas. So it is very clear because the rainwater of the land on the land is somewhat acidic. It has a capacity to erode the rock itself. The metals carried away by the hot water, yes, when it is discharged from the vents into the seabed. The salt is obtained near the coast from the ocean is a very high amount. That is why the salt making is not allowed. It is restricted in the coastal area. Otherwise, everybody will start manufacturing the salt. What are the three types of coastal areas? Yes, we have seen CRZ. What is this three types of coastal areas? The classification leads to definition of three general tectonic types of coast. Tectonic. We have seen actually, in fact, we are not knowing this. Only the geotechnical people will understand. After tsunami, everybody understand. In fact, in environmental subject of IBB, we would have studied the collision coast, trailing edge coast, and marginal sea coast. See, this says that collision coast, trailing edge coast, and marginal sea coast. The collision coasts are those that occur along the active plate margin. If you go deep only, we can able to see that actually. I'm not going in deep on this. Where the two plates are in collision or impinging upon each other. I think this is sufficient for that. And which is the longest coastline in India? Gujarat is the place where it has the longest coastline in India. Among the states, Gujarat has the longest coastline, and among the UTs, Union Territories, Andaman and Nicobar Islands has the longest coastline. Why coastal regulation is important? And what is the importance of CRZ? See, the importance of coastal regulation zone is it is necessary to protect ecologically sensitive regions such as coral reefs, which act as a shield against the tsunamis and cyclone. Yes, many areas which are protected because of this coral reefs in near to Chidambaram, that is place called Killai. That was never affected. That area was not affected, though there was a high tide area. There are many places in our country like in Killai. Keeping the coastal zone safe and can improve the lives of coastal communities like fishing communities. See, we have felt the importance only after the tsunami. Everybody knows after 96 tsunami, it got affected so many coastal areas across our country. And it is worst affected only on the eastern side. Complete eastern side, is from West Bengal to complete Kanyakumari. And even Sri Lanka, it got worst affected. So the regulation was strict after that. Though it is there, that notification was there from 1991, the importance of the entire thing was felt. So the restrictions was imposed totally. They were very clear. Whenever they approve, actually they will go through the each and every application, whether it is genuine, whether it required to be considered or not, everything. There are many refinery plants are there, everything with the approval. They will have to follow the whatever the restrictions are there, whatever the rules which is permitting for them to do, they will have to do, not just like that. And they cannot discharge any waste into the sea, and they cannot dump just like that the waste. Any company for that sake, no one can be allowed to dump anything. So the importance of the coastal regulation zone is necessary to protect ecologically sensitive regions such as coral reefs, which act as a shield against tsunamis and cyclones. Keeping the coastal zone safe can improve the lives of coastal communities like fishing communities. This is one of the things actually they felt it is very, very important. Let us see some prohibited activities. We have seen in our one of the presentation, the following activities are declared as a prohibited in the coastal regulation zone. Setting up a new industry, never allowed. Expansion of existing industry, if it is already approved, except those directly related to waterfront or directly needing an offshore, foreshore facility. That is only it is allowed. Otherwise, there are restrictions. It is imposed. You are a big political person, they want to take up nothing doing because it is protected zone. They never approve. The manufacture and handling or storage or disposal of hazardous substances as specified in the notification of the Government of India in the Ministry of Environmental and Forest. That is serial number 594 of F, dated 28 July 1989. They are given some guidelines, they are given some restriction, there is a regulation is there. Setting up and expansion of fish processing units, including warehouse, they are not allowed. Hatchery and natural fish drying in the area is permitted. Only related to the fishing. That is the only thing which is permitted. There also, you cannot raise the height and go further, nothing. Setting up an expansion of units mechanism for disposal of waste and effluent and except facilities required for discharging the treated effluents into the water course with the approval under Water Prevention Control Pollution Act 1970. Except for stormwater drain. See, the government has considered each and every important thing which is necessary to protect the coastal regulation zone. Discharge of untreated waste and effluents from the industries, cities or towns, and other human settlements. So these are also one of the important things. They are not allowed. Discharge of untreated waste, not allowed. Effluents from industry, cities, and towns, not allowed. And other human settlements, never allowed. The scheme shall be implemented by the authorities for phasing out the existing practices. Yes, this is happening. Many other places. They wanted to remove. There was a big advance for there actually in the marina. After the tsunami, they have been shifted. They shifted to new area in the Kanaginagar. There have been a big development has happened. Resettlement. They wanted to protect. So the entire thing has been shifted. There are so many developments are there on the LRR. So the discharge of untreated waste and effluents from the industry is not allowed, or towns not allowed, and other human settlements are not allowed. The scheme shall be implemented by the concerned each and every state. Every state has their own rules and regulation at par with the national notification. They have their own rules, but it will be at par with the notification 1991. Phasing out the existing practices, if any, within a reasonable time period, not exceeding 3 years from the date of this notification. That is how it has happened. This Kanaginagar. They shifted all the people, that area. And it is well protected. Like what rehabilitation and reconstruction, everything has been done in that area. Likewise, in all the states, it is there. Dumping of city or town waste for the purpose of land filling or otherwise the existing practice, if any, shall be phased out within the reasonable time, not exceeding 3 years from the date of this notification. Even dumping, if they are earlier they are doing, they were not allowed. Everything has to be moved. Dumping of ash or any waste of thermal power stations, not allowed. You cannot dump just like that. You can see in many of the Chennai harbor, once there was a leak was there actually due to some vessel hitting one another. So there was a heavy leakage was there. People were struggling to remove the oil. They were collecting those waste and they were removing. Not only here, in many places. So they will not allow. The land reclamation, bunding or disturbing the natural course of sea water with a similar obstructions, except those required for control of coastal erosion and maintenance or clearing of waterways, channel and ports, and prevention of sandbar, and also except for tidal regulation. That is very important. Tidal regulators and stormwater drains and structures for prevention of salinity increase for sweet water recharge. So land reclamation, a new thing. I don't know how many of you know the Angkong airport was constructed by reclaiming the land in the sea. A area has been marked, they have reclaimed the land in that area, they constructed the airport. In the first cyclone itself, there was a heavy damage because the speed of the wind is very high, even after the design. They went and studied, okay, what is the protection measure we will have to do? They made. Now the airport is very good. They have done. We saw that in one of the Hong Kong, how the Hong Kong airport has been made. But with all restrictions, they will have to protect. They have given a lot of protections. And they never wanted to discharge any waste. That is one of the most important things. So bunding or disturbing the natural course of sea water, very important. If you disturb, actually, in other side, actually, it will disturb the people, it disturb the coast. With a similar obstructions, yes. Except those required for control of coastal erosion and maintenance, yes. These are all the important, they are actually required to be maintained. Or clearing of waterways, yes. Channels and ports and prevention of sandbar, and also except for tidal regulators. The stormwater drains and the structures for prevention of salinity increase for a sweet water recharge. See, you cannot, just like that, you cannot discharge the waste into the sea. It is not allowed. Never. The mining of lands, never allowed. Rocks and the other substrata material, except those are rare mineral not available outside the CRZ area. Mining is not at all allowed. But rocks and other substrata material, except those rare mineral not available outside the CRZ area. And in fact, many of the coastal zone, the quarrying of sea sand is not allowed. There are plenty of minerals are available in some particular zone. That's why it is not allowed to quarry. Harvesting or trial of groundwater and construction of mechanisms, therefore within the 200 meter of HTL, high tidal zone. In the 200 meter to 500 meter zone, it shall be permitted only when done manually through ordinary wells for a drinking, horticulture, agriculture, and fisheries. Hi, good morning. ஒரு ஆன்லைன் கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன், நான் கூப்பிட்டுமா? So here, one of the most important thing, no harvesting allowed or drawal of groundwater near the sea is not allowed, and construction mechanisms thereafter within 200 meter, HTL in the 200 to 500 meter zone, it shall be permitted only when done manually through ordinary wells for drinking. You cannot drill, it is not allowed. You can just do a well for a drinking purpose, not for any other purpose. Construction activities in ecologically sensitive areas as specified in the Annex 1 of notification. I'll share you the notification. It is available on the net, but I'll share you. Every valuer, whenever we do any of the coastal area property valuation, we need to understand what are the things are permitted, what are the things as per the local zone, local rule. Every state, they have the DCR. In the DCR, they have mentioned about the CRZ regulation, what is permitted, what is not permitted. What is the area has to be permitted, what is the other things are not permitted. Very clear. You should not do with any influence. Don't say. You say that this is under CRZ 2 or 3, it is not permitted, you can't do anything. Very clear. And land value also, you have to, they are so much, they are pressurizing you. But you write one disclaimer or note very clearly the disclaimer or limitations or assumptions you have to mention very clearly. Very important. If it is an existing structure, go through the plan approval, see the approval, whether the approval is right or wrong, just see that. Sometimes actually we came to know that people are putting up a slab and seal and sign, old seal. Whether it is a genuine document or also, it is very difficult to understand. We'll have to find out the local people, local approving authority, whether this seal is from your office or not. You got an experience. So you'll have to be very careful whenever you are going for any of the CRZ zone property valuation. And any construction activity between the low tide line, high tide line, except facilities for carrying treated effluent and wastewater. And wastewater discharges into the sea facilities for carrying out the sea water for cooling purpose. It is there. For atomic energy, you can see that they are drawing water from the sea only. There will be a jetty will be there, there will be a well will be there. Inside the sea, it will be, say, 1 kilometer inside. I got an experience to see that. We have seen. Really, it's a thrilling experience. Going into the jetty and seeing the well, that's very big. They'll be drawing the water only for that purpose, for the atomic energy, not for any other purpose, with restrictions. They are bound to do that within the regulation. They are not supposed to do any other thing. The construction activity between the low tide line and high tide line, except facilities for carrying treated effluent and wastewater discharge into the sea facilities for carrying out the seawater for cooling purpose. I have seen that only for the cooling purpose. They are taking the water for cooling purpose. Oil, gas, and similar pipelines and facilities essential for the activities are permitted under this notification. Yes, wherever it is necessary, they will give according to the rule with the guideline. Whatever the regulations there with the approval, they will give the approval. Dressing or altering the sand dune hill natural features, including landscape changes for beautification, never allowed. Recreational and other such purpose except as permissible under the notification. So they are allowed only according to the notification, according to the rule. Even the DCR is also made according to the notification. It is not beyond the notification. Wherever, see, every state has their own rule. Every state has their own rule. But at par with the notification 1991. Slides are not moving, sorry. Okay, we have seen whatever not approved. Okay, we will see what are the permissible activities, regulation permissible activities. All other activities except those prohibited in para 2 will be regulated as under the notification. Clearance shall be given for any activity within the coastal regulation zone only if requires waterfront and offshore facilities. They are very clear. Port is required. Port is waterfront is required. Foreshore facility is required. Whatever connected to the port, that is given. And any shipbuilding in Chennai, it is a Katupakam. There is a shipbuilding is there. Ennur and Mangalore. These are all some of the essential requirements. The following activities will require environmental clearance from the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India. Namely, the construction activities related to the defense requirement for which the foreshore facilities are essential. Very important. Slipways, jetties. We got one of the work for the Mangalore shipbuilding area. So we have seen some of the things like slipways, jetties, except for classified operational component of defense project for which separate procedures shall be followed. Yes, regulations are very clear. I don't know how many of you have seen your own state regulation. In our state, actually, we are having a CRZ zone regulation in the building combined rule itself. They given very clearly what is to be followed, what not to be followed. Residential building, office building, hospital complexes, workshop shall not come within the definition of operational requirements except in very special cases, and hence they shall not be normally be permitted in the CRZ zone. Very clear. Nothing is allowed. Residential not allowed, office building not allowed, hospital complex not allowed, workshop not allowed within the definition of operational requirement. It will be allowed except very special cases. Special, some states, union territory, it is allowed with some special provisions. Operational constructions of ports and orbits and lighthouses, yes, requiring a water frontage. Definitely, it is required water frontage. Jetties wherever coast, slipways, etc. I told you, there was a refinery was there wherein they wanted to construct a jetty because they wanted to drain the oil for the refinery facility from the ship. That is essential because it required waterfront for sure. The operational constructions of ports and orbits and lighthouses requiring water frontage, jetties wherever coast, slipways, etc. It is required. Residential buildings and office buildings shall not come within the definition of operational activity, except in very special cases, and hence shall not be normally permitted in CRZ zone. In one of the atomic energy, they shifted all the residential quarters away from coastal area, near to the plant, from one area to the other area, now towards the land side. After the tsunami, they felt it is required, essential to protect the people. If something goes wrong, they felt that's why they shifted the whole thing. The thermal power plants, only the offshore facilities for the transport of raw material facilities or for intake of cooling water and outfall of discharge of treated wastewater cooling water. Yes, there is a pipeline drawn, there will be a well will be there will be a jetty will be there, from which actually they will be drawing the water. It will be continuous for the process it is required for cooling purpose. And outfall for discharge of a treated wastewater cooling water. All other activities with the investment exceeding rupee 5 crores The coastal states and union territory administration shall prepare within a period of 1 year from the date of this notification, coastal management plans identifying the classifying the CRZ area within their respective territories accordance with the guidelines given by Annexure 1-2 of the notification and obtain approval. See, everything actually they are supposed to follow the guideline regulation. Regulation is very important. Even for us also regulation is very important. We are bound to conduct the valuation within the regulation. IBC, whenever any valuations we are doing, whether we are doing a CERP, we'll have to do the work according to the CERP regulation 35. Likewise, CRZ also, everything has to be done according to the regulation. No violation has to be done. The notification and obtain approval, very important, with or without modification of the central government in the Ministry of Environment and Forest. They also say that within the frame of such approved plan, all development activities within the CRZ and those covered in para 2 and 3 and shall be regulated by the state government and union territory administration and local authority as the case may be in accordance with the guidelines given in the Annexure 1 and 2. I'll share you the notification. But these are all the things are very important within the guideline. Within the regulation only, the CRZ activities have to happen. No more. See, I told you, no dwelling units are allowed, no hospital, no office building, nothing is allowed. In the interim period till the coastal zone management plan mentioned in para 3 of 3 above are prepared and approved. They have done very carefully. They studied the whole thing. All development activities within the CRZ shall not violate the provisions of this notification. State governments and union territory administration shall ensure adherence to this regulation and violation, if any, shall be subject to the provision of Environment Protection Act 1986. Very huge fine, or they will dismantle the whole thing. The notification is very clear. The CR shall not violate the provisions of this notification. State government, union territory, administration shall ensure the adherence of these regulations and violations. It's very clear. They are watching. They are monitoring the whole activity. See, you can see the picture here, wherein actually you can see the coastal zone. This is one of the very beautiful thing actually which has been given in this map. The CRZ zone ecologically very sensitive areas. You can see it has been marked in there. Right from West Bengal to Gujarat, you can see here. The CRZ zone is very important, ecologically sensitive. CRZ2 urban development areas up to the shoreline of the coast. That is minimum high tide and low tide, 500 meters, no development. CRZ3 rural and urban areas which will fall outside the CRZ1 and 3. But CRZ3 in rural area, there are two things. One is CRZ3A, CRZ3B. What is that? Densely populated areas with a population of density of 2,161 per square kilometer. It is an NDZ of 50 meters from the high tide line. Very clear. This is in village, rural areas. And CRZ3B, areas with a population of density of below 2161 per square kilometer and NDZ of 200 meters from the high tide line. They are given the rule is regulations are very clear. It has been written very clearly, very carefully written. to protect the entire CRZ zone. And CRZ 4 is an aquatic area of territorial limit. Yes, you have seen in one of the picture. Earlier I have shown you. The coastal districts, there are 250 million live with a 50 kilometer of coast. And 3,600 fishing villages are there, is a roughly. And 12 major ports and 185 minor ports are there. And 4,120 square kilometer of mangroves. Yes, there are plenty. So let's see more also for the CRZ1. Areas that are ecologically sensitive and important, such as national parks, marine parks, sanctuaries and reserve forests, wildlife habitat, mangroves, corals, coral reefs, areas close to breeding and spanning grounds of fish and other marine life, and areas of outstanding natural. See, they are mentioned very clearly what are the things are important. And beauty, historical heritage areas, areas in rich and genetic diversity. I told you in one of the area from Rameshwaram to Kanyakumari, the area is highly sensitive and highly protected. You can see the turtles are coming to the seashore in particular season. It is highly protected. So areas in rich and genetic diversity areas likely to be undated due to rise in sea level, consequent upon the global warming, and such other areas as may be declared by central government or the concerned authorities at the state, union, territory level from time to time. The department is there. They will monitor. Area between the low tide and high tide line zone. Yes. Cannot just like that go and construct on your own. Never. Nothing is permitted up to CRZ zone 3. No new construction shall be permitted within 500 meters of high tide line. I told you one of the project we measured. The revenue people came before giving that no NOC to the local body. They measured, given the no NOC. They measured physically. New construction shall not be permitted within 500 meters of the HTL. No construction activity except listed under 2 under the notification will be permitted between the low tide line and high tide line. They are very clear. Building shall be permitted neither on the seaward side of the existing road, please see, or roads proposed in the approved coastal zone management plan of the area, or on seaward side existing authorized structure. Buildings permitted on the landward side of the existing and proposed road, existing authorized structure shall be subject to the existing local town country planning regulation, including the existing norms of FSI and FAR. Please kindly go through your local body approval, your combined building rule or DCR rule or developmental rules in your state. Each and every state they given according to their CRZ notification for your area. You should understand, but everything is as per the notification, CRZ notification. Some special provision given to the some state after protecting each and everything as per the notification. Reconstruction of authorized buildings to be permitted subjected to the existing FSI FAR. No increase in floor, no increase in area, but it is permitted only within that height. That's all. And also with the existing FSI FAR norms and without change in the existing use. Yes. If it is used as a resort, That has to be used as a resort. It is not to be permitted for any other purpose. They cannot go for any operational purpose. They are very clear, no operational purpose except few, which is as per the regulation. That is the only thing is allowed, not for any other purpose. The design and construction of building shall be consistent with the surrounding landscape and local architectural style. CRZ 3, the area up to 200 meters from the high tide line is earmarked as a no development zone. Very clear. No construction shall be permitted within this zone except for repairs of existing authorized structure, not exceeding existing FSI, existing plinth area of the existing density. Only with the existing density. Whatever earlier is approved, that is the only thing. No dwelling units to be increased, no approval of area. However, the following uses may be permissible under this zone. What is that? Agriculture, horticulture, garden, pastures, parks, playfield, forestry, and salt manufacture from the seawater. Salt manufacture from seawater not allowed on all sides of the sea. No, only in particular zone. The development of vacant plots between 200 to 500 meters of high tide zone is designated areas of CRZ3. Yes. With the period approval of Ministry of Environment and Forest. Permitted for construction of hotels, beach, resorts for a temporary occupation of tourists and visitors, subject to the conditions stipulated in the guidelines of Annex 2. So the notification is very clear. It deals with each and everything. On zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, very clear. It is earmarked for every usages. It is not allowed for operational usages. It says very clearly, permitted for construction of hotel, beach, resort for a temporary occupation of tourists and visitors, subject to the conditions stipulated in the guidelines of the Annex 2. Construction and reconstruction of dwelling units between 200 to 500 meters of the high tide zone is permitted so long it is within the ambit of traditional rights and customary uses such as existing fishing villages. Yes, it is not that suddenly we can go and construct some guest house or any hotels or resorts, something like that. No. Building permission for such construction, reconstruction will be subject to the condition of the total number of dwelling units shall not be more than twice the number of existing units. And there is a restriction. You cannot just like that, you cannot double, triple, and you can go. There are restrictions. It has to happen only within that. The permission is given only like that. The total covered area on all floors shall not exceed 33% of the plot size. The limitations. The overall height of the construction shall not exceed 9 meters. They say that only ground plus 1. And construction shall not be more than 2 floors, ground plus 1 floor. Limitations. The reconstruction, alteration of an existing authorized building permitted, subjected to 1 to 3 above. So they are very clear. One thing is, whenever you are visiting any of the property in the coastal zone area, the one is you'll have to see notification. The 2 is you'll have to see your local body rule, development control rule or developmental rule. You'll have to go through that. Both the things you'll have to see. You'll have to satisfy before you are committing anything. If suppose somebody is having a building, he wanted to do the valuation, If the building is approved earlier to the notification, what is the approval is there? Everything you'll have to go through. One thing is no existing building, no development is allowed. The rule is very clear. Whatever is there that they can maintain or redevelop or within that area, that is what they can do. The rule is very clear. That is one of the reason actually whatever the earlier developed city well within the area that has not disturbed. Whatever newly developing, they have a control. The combined rule regulation for in our state, I mean in Tamil Nadu, it's very clear. They're given very clearly on the CRZ zone. What to develop, what not to develop, what is the limitations, what is the high tide zone, which is 500 meters. They're given very clearly. And what are the things approval will be given. There is a procedure is there to apply for approval for the some of the resorts or any clubhouse or something like that, that is permitted, but with the approval of MEF, Ministry of Environment and Forest. There is a committee will be there. The committee will go through that, whether this can be approved or not. It is not so easy to get an approval because the regulation, the notification give very strict regulation on this. That too, after the tsunami, the CRZ zone is monitored very tightly. They are not giving any approval. They govern each and everything very carefully because they wanted to protect the ecological. That's one of the more important thing in that CRZ zone. The notification I will share you, my dear friends. Please kindly go through that and read that along with your developmental rule, your state rule. So reconstruction and alterations of an existing authorized building permitted subjected to above 1 and 3. What is above 1 and 3? The one says 200 meters from the high tide zone is earmarked as no development zone. Very clear. No construction shall be permitted within this zone except for repair. Existing building, not new. And you cannot go for a more FSA, not permissible, not permitted. What they say in one, uses may be permissible in this zone. What are they? Agriculture, horticulture, garden, patches, parks, playfield, forestry, and salt manufacture from the seawater. See, there is a regulation. In our state, actually, there is a salt board is there, salt board. Tamil Nadu salt board. They govern, they take approval for giving a private people to do the manufacturing. But within the regulation, they are not just like they do. They got a regulation. They got a license. Within that, they will have to do. And you can see that no developments will be there. Only temporary structure will be there. That's all. You cannot go for any big permanent structures. Wherever required any warehouse, that is cut in the arbor area, not in any other area, not permitted. The development of vacant plots, very important. 200 to 5 meters of high tide designated areas of CRZ3 with the period approval of MEF. Very clear. Sharma, I am in the class, Sharma. I'll just call you, please. Huh? But in CRZ3 with the period approval of MEF permitted for construction of hotel, beach, resorts and temporary occupation of tourist visitors subject to the condition. See, they are very clear. Every approval is given only subject to the regulation. They'll follow only the regulation. What 3 says? 3 says very clearly construction, reconstruction of dwelling units between 200 to 500 meters of high tide zone permitted, so long as it is within the subject of traditional rights and customary uses such as existing fishing village of Goa, This is what exactly they permit. And building permission for such a construction, reconstruction will be subjected to the condition that the total number of dwelling units shall not exceed not more than twice the number of existing units, with restriction. Total covered area of all floors shall not exceed 33% of the plot size. See, the restrictions are as per the notification and guideline, and every state has their own rule. The overall height of the construction shall not be more than 9 meters, and construction shall not be more than 2 floors, that is ground plus 1 floor. And reconstruction, alterations of an existing authorized building is permitted subjected to the 1 and 3, between 1 and 3. That is in CRZ 3. The CRZ 4, Andaman Nicobar Island. Here, no new construction of building shall be permitted within 200 meters of HTL, high tide line. The buildings between 200 to 500 meters from the high tide line shall not have more than 2 floors, that is ground plus 1. The total covered area on all floors shall be more than 50% of the plot size, and the total height of the construction shall not exceed 9 meters. They are very given, clear. The notification is very clear with regard to the permission. The design and construction of the building shall be consistent with the surrounding landscape and local architectural style. Guideline. The corals and sand from the beaches and coastal water shall not be used for construction and other purpose. Yes, very clear. Should not affect. That's why the CRZ is protecting. Dredging and underwater blasting in the ground around coral formation shall not be permitted. Blasting means controlled blasting. They wanted to mineral. When they are dredging or doing any mineral activities, that time actually no blasting is allowed in that area, because they wanted to protect the coastal regulation zone. In some area of the island, coastal structures may be classified into in island. It has CRZ1, CRZ2, CRZ3 with the prior approval of Ministry of Environment and Forest, MEF, MOUEF. And in such designated structures, the appropriate regulations given for respective categories shall apply. Very clear. This will apply only with a certain restrictions. Lakshadweep and small island, there are plenty. For permitting construction of building, the distance from the high island shown shall be decided depending on the size of the island. Yes, here actually it will be depends upon the size of the island. There actually, if you put restriction, no developments will be there. This shall be laid down for each island in consultation with the expert and with approval of MOEF, Ministry of Environment and Forest. Keeping in view of the land use requirement for a specific purpose vis-a-vis with the local condition, including hydrological aspects with regard to the erosion and ecological sensitivity. Very important. The buildings within 500 meters from the HTL shall not have more than 2 floors in the islands, not anywhere. Ground floor and first floor. And the total covered area on all floors shall not be more than 50% of the plot size for the island, not for other one. Other area, it is only 33%. And the total height of the construction shall not exceed 9 meters. Everywhere it is 9 meters, ground plus 1. Of course, here also the design and construction of the building shall consist of surrounding landscape and local architectural style. Yes, this is also governs within that. The corals and sand from the beaches and coastal water shall not be used for construction and other purpose. Of course, we know that. Oh, the water will be used for construction. Never. We'll have to bring water from somewhere else for using it for construction. Dredging and underwater blasting in control in around coral formation shall not be permitted. Never be permitted. However, in some of the islands, that is in coastal structures, may also be classified into 1, 2, 3, CRZ 1, 2, 3, with the period approval of MOEF, that is Ministry of Environment and Forest. In such designated structures, the appropriate regulations given in a respective categories are applied. This is for the island. Each and every island depends upon the size, the entire thing will regulate it wherever it is required. There are some case laws are also there on the coastal regulation zone. Interesting. Let's see one by one. Jagannath versus Union Government of India in Gopi Aqua Farms and other in versus Union of India. Another review petitions pending. This is something, okay. The aquaculture, not an industry requiring waterfront. I told you in the beginning. The shrimp culture, prawn. Industry is neither directly related to waterfront, nor directly needing the foreshore facility. Shrimp ponds are prohibited by law near to the seashore. Coastal regulation zone. The order. The shrimp culture industries are covered by the prohibition contained in para 2 of CRZ notification. An industry dependent on a seawater cannot by itself is an industry. They say, support here. Directly related to the waterfront or directly needing the foreshore facilities. For shrimp industry, what is required is brackish water, which can be drawn from any source, including sea, and carried to any distance by pipes. The purpose of CRZ notification is to be protected the ecological fragile coastal area and to safeguard the aesthetic qualities and uses of the sea coast. They are very clear. The government is very clear. The setting up in modern shrimp aquaculture farms on the sea coast and the construction of the ponds and other infrastructure thereon is as per the sea hazard and is bound to degrade the marine ecology. Very true. The coastal environment and aesthetic uses of the sea, very important. We have seen some of the shrimp industry near to Andhra coast. Very beautiful, automatic, fully automatic plant. But the discharge of horrible. But since because it's an export-oriented unit, they are maintaining in a very beautiful way. So discharge is one of the things. They have to have a plant, ETP plant they should have. What the Supreme Court says, therefore held that the shrimp culture industry is neither directly related to the waterfront nor directly needing the foreshore facility. They never decide just like that. They will go through each and everything. They will consult all big experts. Then only they come to the conclusion. The setting up a shrimp culture farms within the prohibited areas under the CRZ notification cannot be permitted. They are very clear. They are not allowing. Okay, the next one. SR Oil Limited versus Halar Ukresh Samiti. Okay, what is this case? Laying of pipeline through the wildlife sanctuary, not a bar. permitted activity. This is another case. See, whenever we do that, actually there will be a doubt will be there. Whether this can be permitted, what will be the value we take, whether it is activity is permitted. Like for example, Indian oil pipeline. In many of the places, actually they are acquired and they are taken up. And you can see that there will be a pathway will be there and no construction activities allowed on the top of the pipeline. Never. There will be a minimum distance has to be given, safe distance. That area can be used by the person who is owning the land for a just going, coming activity, not for any other activity. The laying pipeline, in this case, laying of pipelines through wildlife sanctuary, not a bar, permitted activity. The laying of pipeline is one of the exceptions to the general bar against any construction in the CRZ1 zone area. Oh, it is in the CRZ1. It cannot be said that the invariable consequence of laying pipeline through the ecologically sensitive areas has been the destructions or removal of the wildlife. It would be ultimately be question of a fact to be determined by the experts in each case. There is no prior presumption of destruction of the wildlife in laying the pipeline. Let me take some water, please. There is no prior presumption of destruction of wildlife in laying of the pipeline. Cases of oil spills have undoubtedly been ecological distress, and I have drawn the attentions of the world, but no attention was drawn to any instance of leakage resulting from the laying of pipeline. This is the case. Okay, the next one. This is Philomena versus State of Goa. Let's see what. Construction of a building in violation of CRZ zone, building to be dismantled. Very clear. Construction of a building without securing permission from the competent authority. A writ petition challenged the appellants constructing without authority. High Court directed to demolish. High Court has directed to demolish the entire building. The Goa State Coastal Committee for Environment, the then competent body, constituted a subcommittee which reports the entire construction made in violation of CRZ, not entitled to any relief. Direction is issued to demolish this proper. See, it has to have a proper approval. Whenever we go for any property which is in the coastal zone, we need to check whether any approval is there or no approval is not there. If approval is there, then we can go ahead with that. If approval is not there, don't do it. You can't do it. We'll have to see that very clearly before doing any valuation. So this case, actually, they are very clear that the not entitled to any relief and the building has to be demolished in proper. The court has directed. The court directed the entire thing to dismantle the whole thing. The next case, construction of hotel, sanction given by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, no violation of CRZ. Wow, very good. The reports of no objection certificate obtained subsequently not relevant. So here, the central government has taken a due care in obtaining reports from the authorities to have a spot inspection and report about the feasibility of the hotel project being cleared up. No violation of CRZ area a report of National Institute of Oceanography during the pendency of the litigation that the construction would have the effect of demolition on the sand dune. A report does not indicate there is a violation of CRZ and the relevant factors has been considered by the ministry. See, sometimes actually what has happened, the court also just going in depth. All the time, they will go in depth, they will analyze each and everything before taking a decision. Here they told very clearly it is not a violation. They have a no objection certificate from the ministry. So there is no violation on CRZ. So it is cannot be dismantled. This is in this case, this has been given like that. This next case. Prohibition of construction applies to residential building also. Yes. Though the CRZ notification has been issued under the Environmental Protection Act 1986 and rules 1986, it applies to all environmental degradation. It is not, I told you, we have seen, that operational properties. What are they? Residential, commercial, hospital or office, anything. It is not permitted. It is immaterial as to whether the proposed construction activity is by any individual or government or a public sector undertaking. It cannot be held that the activity is prohibited. Regulated is only an industrial. This is Panda versus state in Orissa. The municipal and development authorities are negligent, unauthorized construction directed to be demolished. Yes. The unauthorized construction on the beach side, direction issued to the municipal authorities to demolish the unauthorized constructions. The direction is given. Direction issued to demolish the compound wall and the 2 rooms illegally constructed immediately. The district collector is directed to consider whether there is any further violation. See, the regulation and the monitoring body is very clear. But whenever we go, actually, we should know 2 things for our knowledge. One is the CRZ rule. The other one is the local body rule. You should well aware of your local body rule on the CRZ zone. In all the development control rule, it has been mentioned very clearly on the CRZ. What is the limitation, what is not to be done, what is to be done, everything has been given in that actually. That means what? We'll have to go through the entire thing. We should get knowledge on that, aware of that. CRZ and local body, what the local body rule says on the CRZ. So here in this case, it is very clear, unauthorized construction on the beach side is an unauthorized. They told, the court has directed. Direction issued to the municipal authorities to demolish the unauthorized constructions. Yes. The direction issued to demolish the compound wall also, which is constructed illegally with the 2 rooms. That means the earlier portion is approved. That is what. So the district collector directed to consider whether there is any further violation. See, it is not so easy. See, the CRZ is highly protected zone. If suppose some client is coming to you for any advice for the existing or new development, you should say you are not allowed to go for further developments. With whatever is earlier it got approved, that is well within that. You can do repair and maintain, that's all. You can't go beyond that. Now the new notification is very strict. You'll have to follow only as per the new notification. This is very quite interesting. That Kanyakumari is full of illegal sector, partly. So there are more than 60 buildings which has been identified by the committee, expert committee. They have submitted the entire thing to the court, Madurai court. There are more than 60 buildings. This has comes in the Times of India. There is a Times of India cutting. There have been 60 buildings that have been constructed by violating the Coastal Regulation Zone, CRZ, notification in Kanyakumari district. The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court was told on Saturday, alleging the violations in the constructions, a public interest litigation was filed in the Madurai bench, following which the court has appointed the advocate commissioner. The advocate commissioner has submitted the report and find out that 60 buildings have violated the CRZ norms, whether in the height or area or within that high tidal zone, everything. They went and conducted the entire inspection. Based on the advocate commissioner's finding, the court has ordered notice to be issued to the Central Environment Forest Secretary. Yes, they have given a court has directed an order notice issued to the Central Environment and Forest Secretary, State's Environment and Forest Secretary, and Tamil Nadu Coastal Zone Management Authority, Member Secretary, and Kanyakumari District Collector, and the Town Panchayat Officer of the Environmental Engineer to get their replies. So it is not that simple, easy. If suppose some people are enjoying violating the rules, one day they will be caught. So you should not violate. That is what my best suggestion to the entire valuer. Please kindly go through. I'll share the notification, whatever I have taken from the net. I'll share this also. Please kindly go through your local body developmental rule. You should be well versed with whatever the CRZ zone rule says on this CRZ in your combined building rule, in your DCR rule, in your developmental rule. And it should be read with both notifications as well as your developmental rule, which is very important for our understanding as a valuer. So it's very important. There are other plenty of violations and court judgments are there on the CRZ. So it is very clear. Nobody should violate the CRZ zone. Nobody. That is what the rule says very clearly. So I think I have completed well within the time. If any question is there, we can discuss. See, the business ethics is a social responsibility. Let us work with the business ethics and with the social responsibility. That is what I just wanted to say to each and every one of you. Thank you, my dear friends. One thing I just wanted to say is accept your past without regret, handle your present with the confidence, and face your future without fear. Yes, sir.
Sir, what about the new notification?
Sir, I just know.
Yes, sir.
Just want
One by one.
about CRZ 1, 2, 3. So then conveying that now it will be decided by the ministry. So on what basis it is decided? Because giving decision on that, what is CRZ 1, 2, 3, this is very important. Means
Yes.
one can always.
Sir, that is what I told you in the final also. You remember, I told you one is the local body rule, that is a developmental control rule. If you are in Kerala, Kerala government will have a combined building rule or a developmental rule. And developmental rule in which actually they would have said about the CRZ zone. So this has to be read along with the notification, CRZ notification. That is notification 1991. This both the things has to be read together. Then only we know, see what has happened. Every state has their rule, building rule, according to the requirement of the CRZ notification. So you have to read both according to that. See, I have seen that with a Tamil Nadu building combined building rule and with the notification. Both are at par with the notification. You can see that, sir. Your area, water developmental control rule is that you can see, sir.
Sir, what about the new notification? What is the present position?
Sir, new notification as on today, 1991 notification is the new one. According to me, because I also searched through many of the people also I consulted. But if anything is there, you can also post here in the group, sir, for an academic interest.
Something is going on. Some rules are being it's coming up, no?
They are framing up. It has yet to come. It has yet to come. It will come. It will come. Why? Because, sir, actually what has happened, there are many court judgments are coming now. So whatever the new judgments are coming, they wanted to update the whole thing. They wanted to do that actually. It may happen. Definitely it may happen.
So the
But
present position is 1991 notification.
that is what it is available, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
But as a valuer, my humble request, please kindly go through your DCR or your developmental building rule and read that with a notification. That will be the best solution for our understanding. And in fact, I have read the combined building rule in our state actually. It says very clearly about the CRZ zone, and it is at par with the notification. Yes, sir. Prashant Agarwal ji. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, just wanted
Namaskar,
to know.
namaskar. How are you,
No,
Prashant?
always, sir.
Nice to see you after a long time.
Yes, sir. Same here, sir.
Yeah, tell me, Prashant.
Sir, I just wanted to know about the aspects of valuation. Now we are aware of this CRZ as you have taught us. Now, how do we discount on the practical aspect of a valuation of a CRZ?
Sir, you
So-
tell me, the court himself is directing any deviation building to be dismantled. The court itself directing. In that case, how you can do the valuation?
No, but if it
You
is
can't do.
constructed
If
prior
it is
to
an,
that,
no, if prior to that is there, then definitely you can consider, sir. There is no discount is required. Because
Okay.
it should be well within that. See,
Mhm.
well within the approval and well within the area, that's all. If they
But if-
deviated, automatically it will be dismantled.
But there is a structure. What you are talking about structure. Now, suppose there is simply one property which is under CRZ. It's an open land. We can.
But new approval, actually, there is a strict rule is there, sir.
I
They
understand,
cannot
sir.
just like that, they cannot go. See, the
No,
rule says, the
Mhm.
rule says very clearly, even if you have a land, new development is not permitted.
Correct.
Whatever existing is there, that you can repair and maintain, that's all.
No, supposing there is a company which has a property, say, which is coming under CRZ. It is a vacant land. For documentation of assets of that company, they need a valuation. So how do we do that? No.
See, under CRZ, actually, if it is 1, 2, 3 is there,
Hmm.
and you can see as per the notification, you'll have to find out what are the activities are permitted in that.
Hmm.
In the activity, suppose they say that, yes, rest house is permitted, you'll have to apply for, you'll have to find out whether this can be applied for permission of construction of new building in your CRZ. I mean, in your DCR. In your DCR, they would have told very clearly, in this area, the permission can be given for a building of only 1+1 with so much of FSI, 33% of plot area only be permitted. If suppose that is there, then you can consider definitely the land value. Definitely you consider. But you'll have to read your DCR. That is very important.
But generally, it should be discounted, say, by if the land is supposing.
No, there is no need for any discount because it is already allowed for construction in that area. If according to the DCR, if the DCR says, yes, the construction can be allowed with the restriction for a type of project. If it is allowed, where is the question of discount? See, where the question of discount will come, if we are going and visiting the hotel, in that hotel, 3/4 of the area is within the approval area. Just listen to me, okay? And 1/4 of the area is constructed in the violated zone. You are seeing that, you are measuring that, then you are finding, okay, this is not in that area. That means what you'll have to do? You'll have to write very clearly that 3/4 is within the limited zone and within the area. So value is considered for the 3/4 area. However, 1/4 area is not in the approval zone. So which is given as a value, that limiting condition you'll have to give. See, one of the good thing actually, IBB has given a wonderful thing. Our own values have done that circular, CLT, limitations, caveat, limitation and assumption. It is done by our own values. Senior values have jointly done that. Wonderful. I request each and every valuer to take a print of that, actually keep you with you as a Bible to refer on this caveat. Very good. So what you'll have to do, you'll have to write these limitations in your report very clearly. This is how I have done. I have limited I have taken assumption, I have considered. This is the thing which you will have to mention.
Correct.
Very important. You are right. Your question is right.
Right. Okay.
Anything else, sir?
No, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any questions is there? I'm ready to answer to you, please. I'll share you the PPT as well as the notification. And please kindly see your DCR or your area and read the whole thing along with other one. Okay. Lakshmanji, namaskar. How are you?
Namaste, namaste, sir.
Good, good.
So,
Nice to see many of the friends are here. Oh, good.
yeah, just a comment.
Yes, sir.
It's actually totally a dry subject. But at least I mean, I think I was fully awake. And then one thing is, if I get definitely a job on this, I will consult you, sir. It's
Sir,
very
that's-
difficult. I mean, what I
No.
can see is, I mean, one has to be very careful, and then you have to verify all the things and then do the valuation. If I get a job, definitely I will consult you, sir.
Sir, actually, what has happened, in fact, I take only a topic which is new to our valuer. For example, I did Mesny valuation, MSNE, Mesny. How many of you know the Mesny valuation?
Correct.
But
No.
it has been told by one of our senior valuer. And in fact, he told me, whenever you take any subject, take a chance of delivering a new topic. That is what I'm doing. All these days, I'm doing Mesny profit valuation, something new. And CRZ, actually, we have done valuations on CRZ. We have seen the practical difficulties. And in fact, we have seen that whether any difficulties, this is one of the topic I have taken actually, which is needed for valuer. 100% which is needed. See, that is one of the reasons, though I also know this is a very dry subject, very, very dry subject. But I thought actually I have read both the building combined rule as well as the notification. Then I thought, okay, this is the right time to present to the values community. I am also a fellow valuer, sir. Equally, I also learn. See, the one thing is there, once some student was asking Abdul Kalam, sir. And Abdul Kalam, sir, was replying to the child, my dear girl, learn, unlearn, relearn. Likewise, it is for us also. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. That is what we are doing. Age is not criteria, sir.
Criteria.
Age is, yeah. We'll have to learn. I am 64, I am still learning. I am studying one more course I recently joined.
Oh,
I am
so
doing
nice.
my studies. And recently we completed the DCF course in IOB. We paid 40,000 rupees for each and every student. We joined there. So age is not a limit. We can learn. But for our valuers, we need to update our knowledge. See why CP is conducted. Always say, yesterday I was delivering about in Ongole. I went to Ongole yesterday for one of the CEP. I presented a paper on leasehold property and rental capitalization method. They wanted this topic to be taken very particularly. They requested me, sir, we wanted this to be taken. So what we did actually, morning session, whole session, we took rental capitalization method, and whole afternoon we went in for a leasehold property. But leasehold property, it is a complex. It depends upon the lease deed. The entire valuation depends on the lease deed, whatever the conditions are there. The whole day it went very fantastically. In fact, I enjoyed the session. Anyhow, sir, thank you so much. Thank you so much for nice listening, patient listening. And thanks to Lakshman sir and Prashant sir.
Thank
and
you,
many
sir.
of Karg sir is not there. Karg sir.
Thank
Karg
you, Bali,
is
sir.
not there.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you, one.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session, and I hope everyone like it. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for the nice presentation.